All right, let's fully talk about this. Did LOL Esports? Okay, America's merge. We'll read one of the articles on America's merge LOL. If you don't know what's happening, in 2025, there is a proposed and supposed, I guess at this point, LOL Esports merge between the America's leagues, which would be LLA, LCS, and CBLOL. So this is something that has become like really hot as a topic because of the fact that it seems like LCS is the team that is, or the region that is favored here. Like LCS is the league that is getting the treatment that's positive for them, whereas CBLOL, which was thriving recently, is getting condensed. They're losing teams. They're being forced to merge with LCS when they don't want it, and this has become like a huge issue within the community. So we'll read the article and we'll give our takes as we go. So LOL Esports in 2025, America's League, 3 splits, guest teams, and a new international event with Fearless Draft. So the LOL Esports format will look similar to VCT, but with 5 regions globally. Riot Games has unveiled a comprehensive set of enhancements for the 2025 LOL Esports season. The changes include new third international event, innovative Fearless Draft mode in Tier 1 play. Honestly, Fearless Draft, I've watched a decent amount of it. It's like nothing, bro. It doesn't change anything, really. It's maybe if you did in best of 5s, you'd really start seeing some of like the changes of it. But full Fearless, I think there's a bunch of problems with full Fearless, and doing the half Fearless, it's really just very mild. Barely changes anything with the watching experience. Unified split schedule for all leagues. I think that could be interesting. Proposed multi-region league in Asia Pacific, the APAC and Americas. Experimentation with guest team slots and promotion relegation. New international event league slots. I like how they frame this as enhancements, but it really is the opposite of that. It is leagues being condensed and essentially the global scene being consolidated in order to pay less teams, because League of Legends is not making as much money in esports as it was previously. There are less viewers in some of the leagues. The sponsorships are just not there because of like this esports winter. You're not getting the major sponsors you would get before. As a streamer, you feel the same exact thing. Like, it used to be so OP to be a streamer back in like 2014. I wasn't a streamer back then, but I had friends that were streamers 2014, 2015. It was absolutely crazy the amount of money you could get. If you averaged like 20, 30,000 views on Twitch, you would be getting like a passive sponsorship, like an underlay. You wouldn't have to do anything on your stream. Maybe you put something in a rotating logo and you put something in the underlay and you would get like 100K a month, 75K a month, because people were using the idea of, you have this many viewers, we're going to get some level of conversion. What sponsors have realized over time is that if the product is not something that people really want, it's very hard to get esports viewers to buy anything, because esports viewers are cheap as f***. Like, people that watch esports, if they went to a subscription model and you had to pay like $5 a month for esports, people would lose their minds. In sports, that's fine. Like in like UFC, you're never getting a free UFC match. Like, people are used to having to pay for things that like events that they watch. But in League esports, people do not want to pay for anything ever, bro. Like, they never want to pay for anything ever. They lose their minds, you know, when they have to put their dollars anywhere. Also, I think that esports is a younger audience, whereas like a lot of the other things like UFC caters to probably on average a older audience where people have more disposable income. And part of the whole reason that people play League of Legends is because it's free. If you want to go back, you want to circle this all back to the beginning. The reason why League of Legends became more popular than Heroes of Newerth originally, when that was the competition, when there was 2 MOBAs out, doesn't have to do with League of Legends being a better game. It's because Heroes of Newerth was on the old model where you had to pay $40 to buy the game, and League of Legends was free, where you have the free-to-play model where there's in-game different accessories and stuff you could buy and cosmetics, and you pay for those, but you don't actually have to pay to play the game. That was the genius of League of Legends. The whole reason why this game became popular is because it was free to play with a model where cosmetics could be purchased, right? If you go through all of that, it continues going down the rabbit hole. It's hard to get sponsors now because sponsors don't see investment returns, right? That's the biggest issue, is you don't see investment returns if you sponsor a league like the LCS generally. If you're a computer sponsor, you sponsor the LCS, like, you think that just because there's 100, like if you go through all the co-streams, YouTube, whatever. Let's say there's 110,000 viewers. I don't know. We have numbers here. Somebody link the numbers. You can probably find exactly what the numbers are. You think with 110,000 views average or whatever it is that you're going to be getting like maybe like 0.1% conversion or something like that? No, bro. Like you're selling like 10 PCs over the course of an entire split. So that's the hard part, is people don't know how to create things and how to monetize League of Legends, because League of Legends viewers don't pay for anything. So that's number one. Okay. New international event and fearless draft mode. And this is going to be important because this is the whole reason for everything. This is all based on money like everything else, right? New international event and fearless draft mode. As reported by Sheep Esports in April, Riot Games has confirmed the introduction of a third international tournament starting in 2025. This new event will start the season with regional play, where the 5 regions will qualify a team for the international round of the tournament in March. The international round will feature a round-robin format where each region plays against each other in a series of matches. The top 4 teams from this stage will then advance to a knockout bracket to determine the champion. Additionally, a fearless draft mode will be implemented for best of series in this tournament. In this mode, champions picked in prior games are banned for the remainder of the series, encouraging more diverse and strategic gameplay. This will be the first major change for to the format in Tier 1 play in many years. Yeah, in the drafting format, for sure. But in terms of like the actual format, I mean, we've seen format changes recently. 3, split structure globally. Riot Games plans to restructure the regional split system, starting with the new international tournament. The season will be divided into 3 splits. The first split leading into the new international event, the second split determining qualifications for the mid-season invitational MSI, and the third split culminating in a regional championship to crown a single season champion in each region. This approach is designed to create a more cohesive and interconnected split, raising the stakes for regular season matches and providing a thrilling lead up to the World Championship. Perfect. That is basic. Now we go into what everyone is pissed about. This is what everyone is pissed about. By everyone, I mean Brazilian fans are pissed about. In the Americas, Riot will be combining the LCS North America and CBLOL Brazil into North and South conferences, each maintaining 6 of their existing partner teams. Additionally, one of the Latin American teams will be integrated based on geographical alignment, and guest team slots will be reserved for promotion and relegation through the Tier 2 system. This will result in a total of 8 teams per conference. So I think the most interesting part about all of this, the good thing about all of this, is having some level of relegation. Like, having some level of relegation is fucking huge, because we haven't had that in a long period of time. It is now so good that, for example, in LCS, you will have a team like FlyQuest Challengers, who we had recently, that completely dominated NACL with players that look like they could be really interesting that are never getting chances. People like Surdy, like Shaden didn't get a big enough chance. Quad was on that team. Like, you have that team that would now be competing in the LCS. I'm not sure about Tier 2 in Brazil, but there has been a big like gatekeeping problem in the LCS historically, where players would do really well in Academy, but there'd be such a disconnect between the Tier 1 LCS and Academy that you would never get a shot, or people would just import random Koreans that were like at the end of their careers over you. Teams compete within their respective conferences, with top performers qualifying for cross-conference play. A single team will qualify for the new global tournament. So I think all of this comes down to how much cross-conference play there really is. Because the whole idea, so there is a positive for CBLOL. On one side of things, it's good for the LCS because LCS has been dying in terms of viewership. And what they're trying to do is combine regions, combine the hype of Brazil with like the higher quality of LCS to make it so more people are interested, more people watch. And it's one of those things where if you like artificially inflate the viewership originally by adding a bunch of Brazilian viewers, maybe having more viewership there will lead to more viewership in general. That's generally how things work. Like, if as a streamer, you might get an influx of viewers from a certain game. Then if you get those viewers on your stream, you know, you're higher in the section, it becomes more hype, more people are engaging with the product, algorithms pick you up, then you get some more organic growth. And we haven't seen real organic growth in the LCS side for a while, right? So obviously this is mainly favored towards LCS. The advantage for Brazil is that Brazil will have a better chance at becoming more competitive. And it depends on how many matches are played between the Brazilian teams and the LCS teams. Because right now, if you watch Brazil has a ton of individual mechanical talent. Like, you have some mechanical talents in Brazil where you're like, this guy is fucking special. But the macro in Brazil is terrible. That has always been the biggest flaw in this region. So because of that, when you watch top teams play, you'll see leads, you'll see good set plays. It's like up to 15 minutes. You're like, damn, bro, am I watching fucking LPL or some shit? Like, it is more kind of like LPL-ish than LCK, I would say. There's more fighting. They set up dives. They play the game pretty well. And then, like, Baron spawns and Brazilian teams lose their mind. Baron spawns and it is like completely f***ed. And then you just end up in like 3-4 Baron deep games where it's like lasting to 45 minutes where one team had a major advantage. If CBLOL teams are interacting with LCS teams enough, they could potentially get better at macro to the point where it actually matters. The problem right now is CBLOL will go international. You'll play like your one team will play like, did they even play best of 5? No, it was like 2 best of 3s. One team will play 2 best of 3s at an international versus another team that is like not specific, like particularly good. They'll lose and then they just come back. And it's like, what the f just happened? Like, what actually happened at that international to make the region better? Like, they just didn't get enough time. They didn't get enough games. And the fact that these teams not only would be playing against each other in official matches, the fact that they would be scrimming against each other could potentially make Brazil a stronger region when it comes to like level of performance. The problem with this is that Brazilian fans don't give a fuck about that. They just don't care about that at all. Like, from my perspective, like, I've always been somebody who's like ultra competitive, right? It sounds absolutely mentally ill to people that I would be competitive because I'm American, and the whole idea is like, if you're from LCS, like, why would you be competitive? Your region has never won anything. Like, when I was playing, the focus was always on trying to be the best player possible, the best like region possible. Like, that's like, even if it's a failure, that was always the mentality. Whereas Brazilian fans care about like having their own thing. Like, they go international, the team loses, that doesn't affect the hype that they have towards their region. And I think that this is very obvious if you look at the trend of CBLOL. CBLOL has continually got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger with the same shitty results. Whereas when America started having these shitty results, when you know, LCS had these shitty results, a lot of people just lost interest completely. They viewed it as like our teams suck. Why the f am I watching? Our teams suck. I'm not going to watch anymore. So the biggest disconnect is LCS viewers look at it and they're like, okay, this is good for us. Like, obviously it's good for us. Why are you guys not happy? Because you guys have been shit forever, and now you have a chance to not be shit. Shouldn't you be like grateful for that? That's how LCS fans view it. And then CBLOL fans are like, we don't care if we're shit. Like, there's not the same level of like hatred towards people in the Brazilian community if you call teams bad as there is in other regions. For example, when I call like K-Corp shit or like Mad Lion shit, even if they are shit at the moment where I say it, I'm going to be met with like 100 fucking, like, the response is instantly going to be just like super hateful, right? Whereas when you, like, I did a lot of CBLOL co-streaming recently. If you're like, damn, bro, these teams are shit, bro, their macro is bad. Like, this part is good, their macro is bad. Brazilian fans are like, yup, they're fucking bad. They do this shit every fucking game, but we love it anyway. You know, like, it is what it is. Like, they enjoy their own community. They enjoy having their own memes. The biggest thing that I noticed about this was when I did Cibolao, which is Baiano's tournament in Brazil, for 3 full days of doing it, like 6 hours a day, Brazilian fans were coming in and giving me new information about their community. They were giving me all their memes, like memes as far back as like 2015. It was like going into a separate world. Like, I didn't know how, and like, it doesn't seem possible that this much community stuff exists. Just like random videos, just random clips, pictures of a caster like playing Twitch, not being able to kite, you know, like random clips with a guy sitting in front of a camera without a fucking shirt on, who's like 15 years old, like talking some bullshit about like how he's going to make this team better and like making like the ultimate comp, making the Exodia comp and stuff like that. Like, it goes so fucking deep that it's almost incomprehensible. There is this community aspect to it, and what Brazilian fans are upset about is that this community aspect will be lost. It's not clear exactly where the matches would be played, but what the assumption is that it's like CBLOL kind of exists, like they do this like 8-team South Conference, and as soon as the regions play against each other, they bring everything to LA, right? The Brazilian fans aren't able to participate. They're not able to really like go to the events. Also, like, it's just expensive to go from Brazil to LA to watch a potential match. So if they have matches in America, they're selling out these big arenas, whatever, Brazilian fans are not going to be able to go, and they're just going to lose their identity and lose their community, which is really important to Brazilian fans because they feel like they've just built it up over such a long period of time. And then now, like, Riot Games is just ripping it from them. That's essentially how it works. So that is like the best way that I can represent the Brazilian fans' argument with this. Like for me, I would love to see this league, this America's League, be better internationally. I would love for nothing more that if this made America's a actual competitive, like a more competitive region. And I mean, like, obviously I don't think it'll be better than China, Korea, all that type of stuff, but just like more competitive. Like you combine the fact that Brazil has bigger player base, you have more mechanical talent popping up in Brazil. You combine that with the fact that like North American teams generally have like smarter gameplay post 15 minutes. And you end up with like having Brazilian players with like the best LCS players. You have like mechanical talents with the best LCS players, and it actually just makes the region better. It becomes more fun to watch. You see like more matches between the regions. You see a like evening up of play, and eventually Americas competes with you know, like it becomes competitive, like more competitive with the top teams of Europe, or it becomes, you know, able to beat consistently maybe the 3rd or 4th seed from LCK or LPL. Like that would be my dreamland, right? But I think that for Brazilian fans, they don't even view that as something that would be a positive. Like even if the games became more competitive in general and the teams became more competitive, if Brazilian teams lose that identity, they lose that community, they view it as a loss straight up. That's pretty much how they view it. So we'll continue going here. This structure allows for continual fresh talent and fusion. Okay, so this is about the tier 2. I think that is something that is just straight up good. Obviously, you lose 4 teams from Brazil. I'll be honest, like I feel like this is the part where I'm kind of lost with CBLOL fans, because I understand all the other parts of it, right? I'm trying to like voice why that matters. But like when I was watching CBLOL, it seemed like the worst teams did not actually, like people didn't like watching those teams. Like maybe INS has been a historic team in Brazil, but INS was fucking horrible to watch. And like people that were Brazilian fans in my chat were like, oh man, you don't want to watch this team. This team is like garbage. The team is so fucked up that players reject even going there. Like this INS team is playing with like a mid that might be the 20th best mid in the region, because people that actually should be in CBLOL are refusing to play for this team. So what I don't understand is why they view like losing a team like INS as a massive loss, right? Like I thought Liberty was pretty fun last split. So I could see like maybe losing 1 or 2 of those 4 teams being like painful. But I think that watching like Furia play, watching INS play was just terrible. I think that like consolidation to 8 teams, if 7 of them are Brazilian, could still maintain that level of community within Brazil. That's what I think. That's true, but we like to make fun of them. Now we won't have that. I mean, true, but it's like making fun of them is fun in the beginning. As you watch 18 games of INS split, as you watch 18 games of Furia split, you start getting sad at a point. It starts becoming more depressing and less funny over time. And I think that the fact that now teams can qualify should be a definite silver lining, even from the Brazil side. Asia Pacific region. In the APAC region, a new league will be launched, bringing together top teams from Vietnam, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Macau, Japan, Oceania, and Southeast Asia. This league will feature inter-regional competitions with diverse matchups and fresh rivalries. 8 teams are planned for the league. 8 teams? What? Which will operate under a hybrid partnership plus promotion relegation model. The first lineup of guest teams competing in the league will be determined by the results of the 2024 PCS. I didn't even know this. PCS and VCS summer split playoffs. For future seasons, guest teams will have the opportunity. There are only going to be 8 teams in the entire league from OCE, Vietnam, Hong Kong. So PCS, Japan, Vietnam, and OCE will be combined to only 8 teams? Am I reading this correctly? Or are there still going to be some like domestic league? Because this makes it sound like everything else just is done, and then you just have 8 teams only. I'm reading this correctly? That is like insane to me. That is insane. Because like, so OCE just won't have any teams, right? Because this is going to be determined based off the results of the PCS playoffs. OCE never does anything in the PCS playoffs, right? They get seeded in and they get last. So there'll be no OCE teams anymore. There'll be like one Japanese team, and then there's going to be like 5 or 6 PCS and like 2 VCS or something, or 1 VCS, something like that. Or maybe like 4 PCS and 2 VCS, maybe 1 or 2 Japanese teams. That seems actually f***ed, bro. This is a crazy change. They're actually killing that region. Look, hey, different take. We're making a new take. If you're a Brazilian fan and you see this, just be happy that Riot didn't do this to you. right? Just be happy that Riot didn't do this to you. Adjustments to international event slots. With the potential reorganization into 5 regions, Americas, LEC, LCK, LPL, and APAC, Riot Games is considering the allocation of slots for international events. I have to sneeze. Hold on 1 second. Each region will have 1 slot at the new event, 2 slots at MSI, 3 slots at Worlds. Additionally, the MSI champion and the second best performing region will earn extra slots for Worlds, bringing the total number of teams at the World Championship to be 17. Trade-offs and future prospects. Riot Games acknowledges that these changes involve trade-offs, particularly the reduction in the number of teams within the Tier 1 ecosystem to ensure financial sustainability. I mean, it just says it right there. Elegant way of saying, we ain't got money. Now we fucking pay. Like, we don't have the money to support what we have going on. Half these teams are franchised. We're losing money. It's a money move. That is straight up the first thing. Of course, the downsizing aims to focus on support on fewer teams, increase revenue per team, and enhance the quality of matches by concentrating player talent. Goes with the first thing I just said. The company believes these enhancements will lead to a more streamlined, exciting, and financially sustainable esports ecosystem. Riot Games also claim to remain committed to monitoring the impact of these changes and making adjustments as needed. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, bro. Maybe there's a way where like South Conference could eventually have more teams in Brazil because there's a couple things at play here. The reason why Riot is doing this is because CBLOL has a lot of viewership, right? If you combine it into Americas, it becomes much more attractive to sponsors because right now the CBLOL viewership is good for CBLOL. But on the money side of things, even coming into CBLOL, when it comes to advertisement dollars, Brazilian viewers are not worth as much as tier 1 viewers. So viewers are tiered when it comes to like what the earning potential is. So for example, if I play an ad on Twitch based on where you live, and this is the same for advertisements everywhere, but just explaining in this context. When I play an ad on Twitch, based on where you live, I get a different amount of money. I get a different amount of like micro percentages of a cent. If you live in America, Canada, Germany, the United Kingdom, Australia, Netherlands, like these countries, there's more, but you live in these countries, I will make about 5 to 6 times the amount of money from that viewer, from that ad being played, than I will if you're from Brazil, Poland, Southeast Asia, wherever. This is how it works. This is why a lot of the times if I play an ad on Twitch, you might not even get the ad if you live in a country that I just named, because the product might not be available there and advertisers are not going to spend money advertising a product in an area where the products are not available. So by doing this America's model, they're going to combine the viewership. And the idea is that as you combine the viewership and you muddy the waters, when you go to an advertiser and you're like, hey, this is the America's region, right? And you say, yo, this is the America's region. They're like, America's? What do I think about the United States of America when I think of America, right? And you go to one of these advertisements and you're like, we've got this America's region. We have this much viewership. You're combining the CBLOL viewership with the LCS viewership, and you give them a number. Like if they're not savvy, they don't ask for a detailed breakdown of where every single one of the viewers comes from, which is something that people do not do, by the way. Like this is something that people straight up do not do. Advertisers are not that smart with their money. Marketing teams are not that smart with their money. If advertisers are not discerning enough, what ends up happening is that they will sponsor things based off what they project will be potentially American viewers or viewers that have access to their product, and they won't actually even be able to have access to their product, and they might pay a premium to sponsor a league that is not actually worth that amount of money. So this is what I think this is what I really think is the idea here, is that you're trying to get advertisement dollars by combining things and having a higher number overall when you're selling sponsors. That's the core of it. But yeah, it's all a money thing. In general, even if the LCS has like half the viewership of CBLOL right now, the LCS will make more money than CBLOL because the majority of the viewers are American, right? Obviously, there's a percentage that are not. So like the increase is not, but because like the majority of the people that watch LCS are American or European, you'll essentially make more money. So they are sacrificing CBLOL essentially in order to make more money. That's what it is.